GM. GM. Trade of the day. So Solana, I have mentioned last night in trading analysis. There's a couple levels here on Sol that I think can take us down to 172. So if Sol is unable to flip back above this previous value area high at 182, if Sol stays below this level here, I would expect it to move down to this value area low, which also aligns with the higher time frame daily value area. So there's plenty of confluence for Sol to make its way down to there if it's unable to reclaim here. This looks so far to be a pretty clean false breakout as it tried to push above the highs. See how the volume is distributed up at the top as well. The value area pushed right to the highs. A lot of buying up here failed, price dropped lower. So you can consider this as being trap buyers initially. As they tried on Monday at the start of the week to push it higher, it failed. It's probably going to drop back down and fill in some of these inefficiencies, fill in and do a bit of consolidation before any next move. So unless Sol is able to reclaim this 180, I mean, really it's 188 to get back above out of all of this, because it could still bounce up like that. But you have two areas. Starts to reclaim 182, that's an early sign of some strength. And if it reclaims 187, 188, you would invalidate that idea initially. Otherwise, if it drops below here, you're probably going to see it fall down and fill in some of that. Bitcoin. ETH I'm leaving off because I actually think ETH, there's no, like I said on daily levels, there isn't a lot of long build up. Sol and Bitcoin do have more long built up and have more of bearish structures. And for Bitcoin, same thing, failed breakout at 70k, went from that May-June value area high all the way to the value area low, lost it, we're rejecting off it. Currently it's flipped it from support to resistance. And this original level, from the peak here to the breakout over here, we fell back inside that H4 value area high, which is there. And we came right down to the value area low. So price holding here would make sense in an interim basis. And so if you're looking at Bitcoin to fall down, back down to fill in all the way to 64 area, it would have to lose today's low. Very simple. So if Bitcoin loses that level, I'd expect it to fall down into here, maybe consolidate, maybe touch that March to July daily point of control, which we haven't seen touched since middle of July. And from there, I'd expect it to reaccumulate. Alternatively, if this previous value area holds, and if Bitcoin is able to show strength there and start to climb and build its way back up, that's when you'd be looking at potential for a breakout. So there'd be the two paths I'd be looking at. I think it's going to come back down and at least retest these lows. So you're watching this 65.8. I think that was exactly what I mentioned on trading analysis when I gave these levels. For Bitcoin, if 67 doesn't hold, then 65.7. So what do we see? I'll close this off. If 65 doesn't hold, sorry, if 67 doesn't hold, which is here, 65.7, that's where it went to, right? If 65.7 doesn't hold, which is over here, you're looking at 64 as a potential. So it's respecting the levels so far. Sol can go back to 172, that's what I mentioned. So those would be the two trade ideas I'd be looking at. In terms of, the bias I would have would be for further sell-off, because I think that the long build-up on both on Bitcoin and Sol is there's still an excess of longs, but doesn't mean you can't see short-term bounces, right? There's plenty of inefficiency. Bitcoin could easily bounce and squeeze all the way up to 69 and still go lower. So you're watching at each of these levels along the way. I'm watching 67, big area, and then 68.2. That's the old 4-hour value area high. So it can rally. It's not just going to go straight, well, it might go straight down. But as a lower time frame trader in these consolidation environments, these choppy reaccumulations or distributions, whatever they're going to be, it's short-term moves. It's take profit quickly. It's not, don't expect massive one-directional moves to happen. Be ready to flip, ready to close, because we're not in a trending market. We're in a market where rallies fail, but also dumps fail. And this has been the way for the past 3 or 4 months, you get punished if you try and sit too long in a position, right? You're rewarded for taking profit earlier in these rotational type of markets. When they move up, sellers come in, they drop back, buyers come in, they move up, sellers come in, they drop back. So it's mean reverting. And obviously the target for this would be all the way back to there, but we might not see it. I'm expecting as well, if we start to see this get front run, if you start to see Bitcoin failing to go below 65 and not filling all this in and then starting to push back up, that's a very bullish sign. Because right before you see the next trend form, right, whenever you're used to this happening, or it keeps coming all the way back, well, the bullish sign is that when it's unable to, right, it tries to go back but it can't, that's one of your first bullish signs that we're shifting, this, right? Everyone gets used to, oh, it comes all the way back, comes all the way back, comes all the way back. So you buy the lows, short the highs, buy the lows, short the highs. And that works until it doesn't. So people sell here, they expect to go down there, it doesn't, it holds, starts to move up. That's your sign of a bullish shift. So I'm waiting for that on BTC and the whole market. So currently I think that it should go lower, but this is already starting to look like a potential reversal. Nice little sweep off the daily open that's holding so far. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin holding here. Flipping 67 and 68, that's where it starts to look more bullish again. And, like I said, you got the 4-hour trend, right? Don't forget, we're in an early 4-hour uptrend. 50, 100, 200. We haven't had these bands like this for months. This is one of those periods where people are still biased bearish and looking to short, but you're shorting into a rising trend. Even if it's slowly rising or consolidation, it's a rising trend. So be mindful of that. It would need to take some major catalyst to actually push us all the way back down, which I don't see. Can easily see us go to 64. Can even see us sweep down to 62 maybe and reclaim. That would take you back to your original value area, which, by the way, we have respected so far. If you look at this original value area here, the one I've talked about for ages, when we reclaimed 61.2, we moved to the other side, which was 69. So we did that. Reclaimed here, moved all the way through to here. Now, as it heads back down, it could go all the way back down to that because you're in a consolidation. It's like when you go to the low, to the high, you go back to the low. So technically, you could go all the way to 61 and still be bullish, or still at least not be bearish yet. And anything that front runs that, if it can't get there, if it tries to get to 64, 63 and can't go there, that's a bullish sign itself. It's a sign that Bitcoin is trying to go higher. This also applies when you're looking at things like channels, or you're looking at, if you're looking at stuff like this, people will look at these kind of moves here and they say, when something's rising in a channel, it's touching the high and the low, and you got your trend lines, and everyone's like, oh wow, it's a rising channel. And so they're waiting for the touch here, and then it doesn't come. That is bullish. When you have a rising channel and it front runs the lower end, that's bullish. Similarly, on the bearish side, if you have a channel that's moving like this, and it's unable to reach the high part, like that, that's actually when you can see a bearish break, right? It's got a high, and it touches and touches and touches, and it can't reach the high end and falls off, that's a bearish sign. Same thing goes for value areas, support, resistance. If any of these levels get front ran on either side, it can be a bullish or bearish signal, depending on which direction you're looking at. So my general directional bias would be Bitcoin and Sol probably have another push down to go, because it seems like there's a little bit of overbought on the open interest. But also, I don't expect any major sell-offs. I do think support will come into the market, and I do think that we're far more likely to be bullish on a high time frame than we are on a bearish. That's it. GMGM.